finalizing look inside of week of sports as it is known to the fans. All other sports shows are just buckets, but this is Game Point.
What's going on, man? It's Des the Connect, man. Here to disrespect, man. It's NBA playoffs.
And it's that mouthy mofo out the Midwest, Ted Grams. What's going on?
Pops in the house, keeping these young boys off of me. I'm in the weight room, you know that. So I can keep these young boys off of me.
Hey, I'm in the weight room, keep these young boys off you. Hey, that's a smart play, man. These young boys wild out here. That's a smart play. These young boys wild. Playoff basketball in full effect as we take in the game right now. Tell me something. Tell me something about the playoffs, fellas. How excited are y'all? Just tell me about the feel. Don't tell me about the game yet itself. Tell me how it feel to be back in playoff basketball season. Be back in the postseason yet again here in Cleveland, man. I mean, this is the magic time of the year for us. Just tell me that playoff air. I woke up this morning, smelled that good playoff air. It was just, it was something's magic. You know what I'm saying? We don't get it on till tomorrow, but I knew that it was playoffs. We was no longer talking about the regular season, but playoffs. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm into it.
Man, I'm definitely excited about the playoffs, man. This is the best time for basketball fans. This is the best players in the world, the greatest competition. All the marbles, are on the line each and every day, man. You got your sleeper teams. You got the teams that been here before. You got veterans that have multiple experience in the playoffs, man. You got guys, it's their first time in the playoffs, man. I'm so excited to see guys, some of these younger guys, man, get a chance. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, their first time making the playoffs, man. You got guys like LeBron James, man, who's trying to make his eighth trip in a row or seventh trip in a row, man. It's a good time.
It's a lot of storylines, you know what I'm saying, this year heading into the playoffs. One of my favorite right now, I call it Warren rookies. We got these two rookies, and this is the first time I love it because they got the gloves off. They at odds with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody playing them nice guy games. No, this guy's had a great year. He's so talented. I hope he wins it. They no, I want it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Both of these dudes, you heard what they, or at least you heard what Ben Simmons said. He spoke pretty clearly and said 100%. I'm going with me, and I love to hear that, especially from one of the young guys, and he's the top dog. He's one of the top dogs right now of his class, and just one of that young generation that the NBA seems to be ushering in right now. He's one of the most exciting, and I just love that mentality to hear him say, "No, I'm the best. I want to be the best. Want to be recognized as the best." And I couldn't have it any other way. But you know what I'm saying? I do. I'm a big Donovan Mitchell fan, and I'm just a huge thing of what he's done out there in Utah, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's get it popping. I don't want to wait no more. I'm ready to take the gloves off, man. We got a new segment coming in where me and Pops is going to go toe-to-toe in a live discussion, you know what I'm saying? And if you know anything about the way I talk sports, you know this is going to be lit, man, and you know it's going to be firecrackers. Don't get quiet now, Pops.
No, I'm not going to be quiet.
Don't get quiet now.
Man, you heard him. He was in the gym all week waiting for you, man.
Hey.
Go ahead, man. Break down Donovan for me, and I tell you why Ben should be Rookie of the Year.
Well, first thing I'm going to get everybody prepared to do is understand that this is a game that can be won on the numbers page. You know what I'm saying? If you look at the stats, both of these guys are phenomenal. Both of them got, strengths and points where they seem like their game has a little more growth than the other. And, both of them have points where, they seem to be a little bit weaker and need some work. So I feel like it can be won on the stats page, though. So just let me take you away from the stats page, take you away from numbers, because I know oftentimes in these types of conversations, people think the numbers won't lie to them. But what I'm telling you that, it's the truth in all this, and let me help you understand it. It's the young boy Donovan Mitchell, and it's a few points that I'm going to make to you right here. He's done what he's done, getting poised for the playoffs right now as a rookie for a team that some would say are in quote-unquote rebuild mode. This is a team that was kind of, I'm not going to say reeling, but they were kind of just trying to see, okay, where are we going? What do we have? checking the change in their pocket, if you will. You know, we've done some things. We lost Gordon Hayward. You know, like some errors have came and gone here in Utah. What is it that we have? You know, we got some draft picks. Let's kind of see where our assets are and where do we got to go move forward with. And, you know, then this young kid swoops in and now you in the playoffs. Like, I just think the narrative out in Utah is absolutely crazy. And, I mean, we're going to talk about being a rookie and an honest rookie because, I mean, that's a big part of this and a big part of the credit that I want to give to Donovan Mitchell. Hey, listen, I understand, you know, playing, you know, being around the culture of the NBA is one thing and playing is another. But we got to give, you know, let's not disrespect what you get from being around the NBA workouts, NBA guys. I mean, you get something from that. You know, can we all concur and agree with that? That you get something from working out with NBA caliber trainers and, you know, you already got your coach and your offense is in play. You learning to play. You've had a chance to do all that. Donovan Mitchell, this is a guy coming straight from college. He hadn't had the opportunity to sit and stew with his playbook. He hasn't had the opportunity to get to know and, you know, get camaraderie and stuff with his guys and learn how they like to play and kick it with him and hoop it with him and pick up games and all that. He just hasn't had a chance to do all of that. He's coming straight from college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's done well. Got to give Donovan credit.
Man, he's done better than well. He's done the best, and he's done enough to be named Rookie of the Year. That's what I'm saying to you at the end of the day. And it's just going to be on those 2 points alone, i.e. experience, because, I mean, at the end of the day, no, you didn't play, you know. So that, yes, that technically makes you a rookie, but you've been in this league. This is your second year in this league. You know, Donovan Mitchell doesn't have that luxury, and then we're going to talk about the talent around him. I mean, Joel Embiid, you got guys around you. Philly's been kind of getting poised to get in this position. Like they say, it's been a process. But this is something that they've had their eyes on for a minute. And Ben Simmons, he's just a big part of that. He's a corner piece of that. He's a foundational piece of that. But he's just a part of what's going on out in Philly. You know, make no mistake about that.
Well, you know, Ben Joel probably missed about 20 games, Chris, for one thing. So
but I'm not just talking about Joel. I'm talking about J.J. Redick. I'm talking about the number of picks. J.J. Redick.
Oh, come on, Chris.
I mean, J.J. is he not a premier shooter in the league?
You got the boy.
Is J.J. Redick not a top 5 shooter?
You got the boy in Utah, Joe Ingles, or whatever his name is. He does the same thing. He does the same.
He don't give you the same type of lift that J.J. Redick does. He don't.
Man, he don't. He gives you some of the same stuff he does.
And check the numbers, because the numbers will tell you. He just don't. Now, he plays well out in Utah. He plays well for Utah, but you talking J.J. Redick, you talking about, you know, a consummate shooter. Somebody who's done it in a number of different offenses and for different coaches. And he always he jumps into the rotation doing the same thing. This is somebody you can count on for this. You know, he got a signature playing style, movement without the ball, catch and shoot, sharp shooter. Like, I mean, JJ, she got the whole shooter's game.
When I think of
JJ is averaging 6 more points than Joe Ingles.
Okay, so is it safe to say that they're in a different class now?
Oh, that's just 6 points, Chris. Come on.
6 points on average? That's a lot. That's a lot of production.
Ben Simmons finished the season with a 16-game winning streak. He's a lot of people's pick. A lot of people picking Philly to get out the East, Chris. Believe it or not, over your boy.
Nobody's picking Philly to get out the East.
And then one other thing, Chris.
Nobody's
look at his impact.
Philly to get out
Look at his LeBron-like numbers. LeBron-like impact. Come on, man. Now you gonna tell me that Donovan has been better than him? I don't know. I don't think so, Chris. But Donovan's had a heck of a year.
I'm not gonna say he's been better, but I feel like he's had it tougher sledding. You know what I'm saying? He's had a greater mountain to climb. I think he's had just a wider berth to cover in terms of catching up with the NBA. Ben Simmons is a guy who's been here. He's been groomed for this. He's been trained for this. He's been thinking about this. He's been preparing for this for a year now. So when it comes time, like, let's just admit that is it at least some portion more expected for this guy to excel this year than it is any of the other guys coming in.
Who impacts him winning more, him or Donovan?
I think Donovan, like I said, he plays with less talent. And not to mention, but Donovan Mitchell is the guy that they're going to take last shots and to take big shots and to take shots in the clutch moment. Ben Simmons, he has more of the playmaker role here in Philly. Like I said, he has guys around him. You know, yeah, he's got to be the guy that makes the plays. You know what I'm saying? So he is a star.
Much like LeBron.
But he's not a guy who has to take all of the shots.
It seems to me like you contradicting yourself. You praise LeBron on one hand.
No,
and then,
actually, I think I'm staying very true to the script.
No, you're contradicting yourself.
Listen, you can check my track record, man. I was contradictory of LeBron when LeBron made too many plays for others and not enough plays for himself late in games, because that's what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about late in games. That's an element to Donovan Mitchell game and his greater call of duty. That's what I'm trying to allude to here, people, when I tell you that Donovan Mitchell, he has more to carry.
Who is being compared to, Chris?
In comparison to Ben Simmons, load.
No, I'm saying who is being compared to usually? Who does he remind some people of?
LeBron, I mean, I get that, but
hey, Chris,
is
case
that
closed.
it? Is that it? Come on. How many
closed.
people? Hey, I remember it was a lot of people who were saying that Andrew Wiggins reminded them a lot of LeBron, if I'm not mistaken. So is that what you about to try to base your argument on against me? What people say?
No, I'm talking about his impact, Chris. I'm talking about his impact. They finished with a 16-game winning streak, Chris. Third in the conference. Come on, you got it. Ben Simmons was a large part of that, and he's an excellent defender, Chris.
I understand.
He's great at the. I mean, I wouldn't say great, but he's very good at the defensive end. So. Can't overlook that too.
He's a rising star on the defensive end. But like I said, man, what we talking about Rookie of the Year, and I think that's an award given to the most outstanding rookie. It's not, a very good rookie or the second best rookie or a guy who came in the league last year but didn't play till this year, you know what I'm saying, on a real good team. It's not an award for him. It's about outstanding excellence as a rookie, somebody just entering the league in its way, fresh guy. And Donovan Mitchell is the freshest, most excellent player in this rookie class. He's the freshest to the NBA. Well,
that seems to be your point, Chris.
Lifestyle.
That seems to be the point that you're upset about, that Ben was in the league last year. But remember, he didn't play.
I'm not upset at that, but I'm saying you have to consider all that gives you. This guy didn't have that. All I'm recognizing is that that's a handicap for Donovan Mitchell. That's something that his competition, for this award, his greatest competition, Ben Simmons, he had a year to prepare. He had a year to make NBA basketball his focal point. I did not. I'm coming straight out of college, but yet and still, I've able to move at a rate, and my game has progressed at a rate. This is a guy who had to work for it. Ben Simmons.
Well, you can turn that around, Chris.
Listen, I'm about to make a point to you, and I'm about to finish you right here because I'm about to make a real point to you. Okay. Ben Simmons is a guy, everybody, their whole thing is trust the process. We've been waiting for this guy. Take the keys to the team. Everything is here, right here, laid out for you to excel. You know what I'm saying? When you struggle early and you're not looking good the way he did early, not shooting well, things like that, hold on, no pressure. You right here, be right here for you. We're going to walk you through it. Everything's laid out right here for you. Here it is right now. You know what I'm saying? The generational player starter kit. We're giving it to you, Ben Simmons. What can you do with it? Donovan Mitchell is a guy who's had to earn everything. I mean, recall the numbers back for me, Des. I mean, he didn't start all of his games. This is a guy who came off the bench. This is a guy who he wasn't touted as this great prospect. He had to work for it. He had a guy in Rodney Hood who was in the pecking order in front of him out the gate. Like I said, he came off the bench. But even once he scrapped his way off the bench, this is somebody else. They kind of got him in mind for it to be his team or for him to take the shots. I show you so much as a player. I show so much to my franchise. They deal that guy. He's out of here. He's playing in Cleveland now. I showed them that much. They believed in me so much. I'm not the guy that they was waiting for, but I'm the guy that you needed.
Let me close this down right quick, Chris. I'm award you an NBA franchise. You got a choice between Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell to start your franchise. Who you picking, Chris? Tell the truth.
I'm going to tell the truth. I'm picking Ben Simmons.
Okay.
But that's not what the Rookie of the Year award is about.
Case closed.
Who we think is going to have the best season, or who's touted for the best season, or who's got the most upside. It's about for who has had the greatest and most excellent rookie campaign. And what I'm telling you is Donovan Mitchell has, A, had the more excellent season based on the fact that he's had less help and he's done more in less time, and 2, fits the criteria for a rookie better than Ben Simmons. I'm not saying that Ben Simmons doesn't fit the criteria for a rookie, but Donovan Mitchell fits the criteria for a rookie better than Ben Simmons. A lot like the way that he shoot free throws. Guilty.
Any final words, Pops? Any final words?
Well, Chris made my case for me. He said he'd rather have Ben Simmons, so we're going to go with that.
Listen.
In our first segment, man, we're going to wrap this up, man.
Chris made my case for me. He answered my question.
Yeah, all right.
Guilty. Hey, Chris.
I think the overall,
guilty as charged.
I mean, I think if you ask, it's no denying that you would rather go with Ben Simmons for who's the better player. But when you say the biggest impact and the best Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Chris.
And this better player, man, it's too early to say who's the better player. That's a question we got to say in 10 years.
As the Rookie of the Year.
Did he win 16 straight games there?
Nah, but he won
Right, they had a nice streak, though.
He won 28 out of 5 since mid-January.
Did you hear what he said?
And he had an 11-game win streak. I got to go with Donovan Mitchell there. I think his impact has been greater than the one that Ben Simmons had. And Ben Simmons really didn't get to show it.
Don't make any mistake. Donovan Mitchell, Ben Simmons is not so much greater. He hasn't shown me so much more. He didn't show enough to win the award. He certainly hasn't shown me, or in my mind, he certainly hasn't shown me enough to say that, he's not going to hands down be a better player than Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell could very well be the player we talking about in 10 years, 7 years, 8 years, saying, hey, this guy ended up being better. He's better. Don't think that that's not a possibility. It's too early for both of these guys to say he's two huge, great talents, but in the turn of this year, in the most authentic sense of a rookie campaign, I think Donovan Mitchell has been the most excellent and the most outstanding.
These young dudes ganging up on me as usual.
Well, you said you was in the gym ready for that, so.
Right. You did say that, Pops.
Unbelievable.
Back to the gym.
Yeah, look, you got work to do, bud.
Yeah, okay.
So let's start off with the season recap, man. We're going to start out west, man, with the number 1 team, man. Houston Rockets, 65-17 record. They have the first seed throughout the playoffs. They had a 17-game winning streak this season. Dan and Tony, Coach Dan and Tony stated recently, the season will still be cherished even without a championship. Do you all agree with that?
I definitely disagree with it. I think they should be thinking championship or bust this year. They did have a great season, but I think that's just coach talk. I think those players to a man think that they should win a championship, and I wouldn't say it was a bust. No, they've had a great season, but
hold on, don't contradict yourself now.
No, I'm not saying it's a bust. They've had a great season, but I'm not saying championship or bust. But they're supposed to win a championship. That's what I'm saying. So what is it like?
Obviously, championship is the ideal situation. Yeah, that's what everybody's shooting for. But I mean, is it still a successful season?
Yeah, it's a successful season. You won 65 games. You got the top seed in the West. It's still a successful season. But anything short of a championship for that team, I would think would be a bit of a disappointment. I think they're supposed to win a championship. You got the best team, very talented. You got the MVP probably. That's gonna be that would be a bit of disappointment if they didn't win the championship.
Yeah, but I mean, does that make or break the season? Still, just one more time so I can hear definitively from you, Pop. Does it make or break the season?
I will say this, Chris. Again, I think they're supposed to win the championship. If they don't, they still had a good season. That's my point. But I think anything short of a championship kind of pales the season, I'd say. Kind of brings it down a touch.
Kind of pales the season.
Yeah. But you can't argue with 65 wins.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. But I'm going to agree and disagree and argue and stick with it and stand behind it kind of at the same time because I think that you can. You know what I'm saying? I think that you can. At the end of the day, none of those things really mean anything.
What doesn't mean anything? There were 65 wins?
The 65 wins, they don't mean anything. If they get knocked out in the first round or the second round, it doesn't mean anything. What the reason why those markers are even significant is because you hope that's signifying greatness to come. So even if it's next year and you're saying, well, we won 65 games last year, maybe that's symbolic of greatness to come for something that is significant. And ultimately, that's a championship.
So what are you saying? They got to win a championship?
I mean, I think, yeah, they got to win a championship. But like I said, I'm a kind of flip-flop here and do a little bit of both, because you kind of did both here. So I'm going to answer both calls. I think that they're a team, at the end of the day, they just got together. Obviously not the whole team, but one of the biggest pieces, Chris Paul, he just came. He's new to the team. He's new with these guys. And, obviously in the spirit of a true point guard, he's synergized great with his team, and they've come together great offensively and defensively as well too, surprisingly. But I mean, it's still only 1 year. I know that they could get a lot better. They could know each other a lot better. So I mean, I think they've done some decent work. To me, it's hard to say that a team that's kind of coming together, so quickly. A championship, I mean, against what they're up against, you got to think about what they're up against. Golden State, that's no light task. You just gotta. I think people forget how good you gotta be to beat those guys.
I guess my argue against that point, if it's to me, it's a bust if they don't win a championship, just because it's not a young team. You got veteran guys on this team throughout the whole team, so it's not like you could win a whole bunch of games and say, oh, maybe we got 3 more years. You don't have 3 more years. You got this year, maybe next year to win a championship, and right now you're in a good position to win it because we don't know what's gonna happen next year. You're healthy this year.
I think a Harden-led team is gonna be in the hunt for the next 4 to 6 years. I think. I mean, he that type of player. His team gonna be in the hunt for the next 5 years. But I feel comfortable saying that. If you got Harden, you're gonna be in the hunt.
But without a CP3 playing with this production, is he in the hunt? If you take CP3 off this team,
he was in the hunt before CP3 came. CP3 is supposed to be, what spills him over the top and let his cup run up over and ultimately get him to where he hasn't been. But everything that they doing right now, yeah, the wins and losses column, yeah, that's cool or whatever.
It's real cool.
We saw it with Atlanta. We've seen teams have great records though, and today, but that's what
not a lot of teams have won 65 games. Chris.
No, they
Look
haven't.
At NBA history.
They haven't. But check this out. And like
that's
I
no
said,
small task.
Right, and I appreciate history. Nobody more than me. But one thing that I also appreciate is the way that things change. In today's NBA, it's a playoff-centric NBA. And what I mean that is the best guys, their minds are the best franchises, the consummate playoff guys. Their minds are centered around the playoffs. If you hear people talk about it, yeah, even we just watched a special with DeRozan and Lowry, and everybody wants to know what are these guys going to do in the playoffs. They've shown this, they've shown that, they tried to reinvent, and guys have worked on their games in this type of way. But what is it going to mean in the playoffs? In today's game, the greatest guys, they are playoff minded. There is less and less emphasis being put on the regular season with the passing day. Guys care about it less. So with that being said, I think you see teams a lot like we saw Atlanta a few years ago have surprisingly really, and it's normally like these hungry teams, with something to prove, and I think Houston was a team that they were hungry in the sense that they're in the hunt. They're trying to get as good as they can be because they know what they're up against. Smartly so. But you see it's kind of like these underachieving, something to prove, kind of chip on their shoulder team, kind of outplay a lot of teams in the regular season. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't always translate to greatness. I don't necessarily think that Houston is one of those teams where it won't translate, but I think that it still got to translate. At the end of the day, it's not a big deal. Because if you lose in the playoffs, ultimately you move on. But you don't hang any banners, or there aren't going to be any parades for 65 games. Sure, the fans appreciate it, but they also pay to come to the games. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, listen.
Dad, what about just Chris Paul? Him coming to Houston, what was his goal? Championship? Is this a championship bust for him? Or did he come to the team?
No, he came here to win a championship.
I think at the same time he understands that it might take more than 1 year though.
It might. But Chris, I'm just saying, don't discount 65 wins. That's
I
in
mean,
the NBA in an 82 game season. That means you only lost 17 games.
I'm
that's
not
pretty
discounting it. I just think I'm minimalizing it a bit. Like, okay, it's okay to acknowledge it, but understand its significance. 65 wins in itself isn't anything big. Understand that it's about what it could potentially be symbolizing about what we're ready to do, what we're on the cusp of as a unit and as a team.
What did 73? What did 73 wins do for Golden State? Came up short in the playoffs. Do we still remember that season for them winning 73? To remember the Cavs coming back 3-1?
Well, you're missing my point. Yeah. I'm just saying. I think.
Are we though?
Yeah, no. I think it's a pretty good regular season. Well, if that's the case, now you
pretty good.
Hey, LeBron's played what? How many years? 15 years. He's won 3 championships. So does that discount his other 12 years? Were they nothing?
No, absolutely not.
Again, case closed there.
But what we talking about is
Chris. Only one team wins the championship now. I'm just saying, don't discount 65 games.
But what I'm telling you, if you would ask LeBron what's significant about those years that he lost, he wouldn't mark the accomplishments and say, "Oh, it was the MVPs or this, that, and the third." He would say, "No, it's what I learned and what ultimately came together and culminated in my game for me to ultimately win a championship, moving forward." So it's all about contributing something to a championship effort. And I think you can add anybody who, just ask Charles Barkley what it feel like. Ask AI what it feel like when you don't get it done. You do kind of question the validity of everything that you did do. Like,
so this season was nothing for Houston. Is that what you're telling me? If they don't win a championship,
I mean, yeah, I think in the long run, like in the grand sense of things, yeah. Now, if you want to, have a small track mind and just get caught up in this season, but I mean, ultimately. This a business, so this is a franchise. So we not looking at things from year. They probably looking at things in a 10-year span, and in a 10-year span, a championship is gonna stand out. A championship is gonna remembered and marked in history. 65 wins is not. Sorry, like I said, it's a team that just won 73. We supposed to go crazy and fell short. 3-1 lead and
I
they
didn't
blew
say
it.
go crazy. I just said don't discount 65 wins. That's a pretty good regular season.
We'll clap it up for them. 65 wins. Let's move on to the Golden State, man. They 58-24. This is a team that usually has the the best record in the NBA for the past couple of years. They had a second seed out west, the third best record in the NBA. Right now, currently Curry is sidelined with the MCL tear and will be out until the second round. Draymond says that
how firm is that? I don't mean to cut you off, but how firm is that on that second round? Like, do they know he's going to be back first game, second round, or is it he's going to be back at some point in the second round? Like, how?
I don't have the specifics, but I'm guessing at some point during the second round. We're safely to say these won't be back in the first round.
All right.
Draymond says that it doesn't matter if Kawhi were to play in the first round. Is he just talking, or does he feel that they could take the Spurs with a healthy Kawhi and no Steph?
Draymond talking crazy, man.
Man,
a healthy Kawhi Leonard is one of the
like,
top.
Draymond? What that Cali like, boy?
With a healthy Kawhi Leonard is one of the top 5 players in this league. He impacts the game on both ends of the floor. Draymond is talking crazy.
Do the Spurs beat the Golden State last year if Kawhi doesn't go down after that in that first game?
I think so. I think they were going to be in such a prime position because they were going to win that game. I was watching it. They were going to win that game.
I don't know if they beat them in that series, but with a healthy Kawhi this year, I mean, it's a different series if they don't have Steph. And for Draymond to say that one of the top 5 players in the league is not going to impact the series or is meaningless, that's lunacy. Come on, Draymond.
Let me just say, though, this is one of those.
That's lunacy, Draymond.
A prime example of a guy, just talking
He
solely
just
for
running
the
his
sake
mouth.
of talking. Because all of these things are non-consequential. He understands that Kawhi ultimately isn't going to be back to play today. And so he's not going to have to deal with any of this. He's not going to – Kawhi not going to be back this series. So he's not going to have to deal with any of this.
Yeah, so he can say – he can just talk.
Non-consequential, man.
Yeah, he can just talk. He just better be lucky Kevin Durant came to Golden State last year. Well, he would have took another loss.
Are the Warriors wearing down from the 3 straight finals trips?
Wearing down, you think a little fatigue? I think so. I think it happens. It's gonna happen to any franchise. Those are a lot of minutes, and then to be successful as they have, it just emotionally, we've seen it this year. They kind of really toiled through the regular season. I just think that it's something that you see, especially for the more talented teams in the league, as we just discussed, kind of like a playoff-centric type mentality, and it does. The regular season almost seems like a bother, at some points, and you just kind of getting through it. But
well, yeah, just a natural physical tale of 100 games for 3 straight seasons. That's gonna take a toll on everybody. But they'll be ready, as they showed today. I mean, they came in ready without Steph, and basically blew San Antonio out of the water. But yeah, those kind of games for 3. Now this will be their 4th year that they're aiming at 100 games. Sure, it takes its toll. Just physically, it takes its toll. But they're young enough to, so where it shouldn't be that much of an issue.
And I think that the way they've invigorated that team with youth over the last few years, just a masterful job by that front office, because I think it's helped. You know what I'm saying? It's helped. You see those young guys come in, and they play good minutes, closing out games, help keep a few minutes off the legs of the vets like KD and Curry. So you've seen that, and I think that's been a smart move. And it's made a difference. And I think, tribute to what you saying, Pops. They young guys, the team, they young enough. I think right now that, they built for it.
So that's the top 2 teams out west, man. Let's head it to Minnesota, man. The AFC, they just slid in there. They won a clutch game against Denver.
That boy jumped straight to the bottom, didn't he? Top 2, and now we're going to talk about Minnesota? That's
47-35, man. Jimmy is back just in time for the playoffs. Did they save their season by making it to the playoffs, or is this team really underwhelmed you all this season?
I think they've been underwhelming. You've got
hold on. You talking about Wiggins?
Yeah, I'm talking about Wiggins.
Okay.
I'm talking about Andrew. I'm talking about Andrew. Right?
He called that boy Andrew. Dang, you know him personally?
Hey, but Andrew is disappointed. Now, this is his what? Third? Is this his 3rd year or 4th? Third year, right?
4th
year?
I can't call it.
Yeah, it'd be 4th year because Kevin's been here 4 years.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay,
right.
This is his 4th year. He was supposed to make bigger strides than he did. Too laid back, and what I have said, very talented, but something missing with the kid. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the drive. I don't know if it's the not that he was an inner city guy. I don't know if it's the Canadian upbringing, the being too laid back. But something is missing with Andrew Wiggins.
Well, I'll say this. I heard that he's upset about the way that he's used. He a little upset with his role being lately. Do you think what part does Minnesota have a part, if any? Do they have a part in maybe what he hasn't done or what he hasn't been able to do?
Who are your sources? You guys, know some of his know some of his cronies?
No, this has been reported. It was reported on by ESPN.
So what he thinks he should be more of a feature? What about his role? Is he upset about?
It was a comment made on Sports Nation, a panelist on Sports Nation on ESPN, and what was said was he's just frustrated with his role, not completely happy with his role. There weren't a bunch of details that I heard. I'm not sure exactly what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's averaging 17.7 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game, 2 assists, 1.1 steals, 0.6 blocks, 1.7 turnovers. He played all 82 games and started all 82 games, shooting 43.8% from the field, 33.1 from 3-point percentage. I guess hearing those stats, what would you want to see more from him, Dad? Maybe rebounding?
I'd like to see him rebound a little more. I'd like to see him do everything a little more.
I'd like to see him play, especially from beyond the arc. Like you said, that's a knock that's been on his game since he came into this league. So you see it, guys have things that they're good at, and they kind of rest in their laurels and hanging their hats on the things that they good at. Instead of, understanding when you aspire to be a franchise guy, it's about strengthening and rounding out your game.
Yeah, but he's I don't know if it's his demeanor. He's a guy that if you back into the corner, he's gonna stay in that corner. I mean, he doesn't strike you as a guy that's gonna fight his way out.
Because I seen him. I just see him make ferocious plays out there. I see him make the type of plays that I feel like only a guy who really wants it, and only a guy who in that moment you have to be getting after it and getting a piece. Like I like to say,
Chris,
to make those plays in that moment. Hold on, I got something I'm saying here. Let me bring it full circle for the listeners now. I think though that he's somebody, he doesn't have all the weapons to necessarily be able to maintain that mentality for 4 quarters. In moments, he has moments where his
What's
weapons.
wrong with playing hard, Chris? For 4 quarters. Is that a lot to ask of a guy you're paying how much? What, $25 a year? What's that contract he signed? I'm asking the kid to play hard, man, for 4 quarters to max out effort. Come on, man. Quit giving the guy a break, man. He's underachieved.
This is your guy, Dad. This is his first time.
Andrew was my guy.
He's in this is his first time in the playoffs. What are your expectations?
Yeah, we'll see what he does.
What's your expectations for him?
I have no idea. Like I said, something's missing with the kid.
So no expectations for him at all.
I have no idea what Andrew Wiggins is going to do, but I'm saying he's been underwhelming in his 4 years. I would have expected more at this point in his career.
So is he a star at this point in your mind? Do you feel like he's a star? Because he's still a young kid, rather. He's still a young kid.
He's a star. No. Something's missing with the kid. Got all kind of ability, but I'm not sure he brings it as he should. As hard or as well as he should. I'm not sure he does. Too laid back. Something's missing with the kid. I've said that a million times. I don't know how else to answer the question. And I was very high on Andrew Wiggins. I didn't want us to trade Kevin Love for him. I still think that I think under LeBron, maybe he would have he might have been a better player. I don't know. Something's missing with the kid. That's what I'll say. You call it what you want, but something's missing. Too laid back.
I will say this. I feel like similar things were said about Wiggins as were Ben Simmons, but Bron seems to have gravitated to Ben Simmons in a way that he certainly didn't do with Andrew Wiggins. I don't know if it's something that, guys see.
Well, I guess they took 2 different routes, though, because he tried to sign Andrew Wiggins to his, to
his agency. That's the report, Rich Paul.
Wiggins didn't want to go, and obviously he signed with Adidas, so, he definitely didn't want to be under the LeBron tree the way that Ben Simmons was, or,
Is LeBron with Rich Paul in them? I mean, is Ben Simmons with Rich Paul in them?
Yeah.
Because a lot of, and there are some reports that had he signed Rich Paul, we don't trade him.
Yeah.
I mean, there was that report that, hey, we don't trade him. I don't know how true that is.
I can believe that.
Yeah, I can too. I can too.
You don't have to break my arm to believe that. That makes a lot of sense.
But Andrew, in my opinion, and I've been a guy that's been high on Andrew's talent, but in my opinion, he's underachieved. I'm calling it like it is.
And I agree, but I think after you understand why guys underachieve, but then you answer yourself these 2 questions. Okay, is his youth still an asset? Yes, it's still
young.
Asset.
Still young.
Okay, and then you say, okay, well now what type of upside do I feel like he got? I heard you speak to his ability, so now to me the next question that you ask is why, is this guy, maybe not where we want him to be? And then you try to give him a second win with his growth and try to see him, get better in his, second part, entering the second half of his career.
He looks to me to be a guy that'll play like this his entire career.
And that may be, but if it, like I said,
I mean, you've seen guys like that.
If he's young, do you not? So
we got a guy here, Jeff Green. Doesn't it always seem like there should be more there?
Man, I think those are 2 very comparable players. With how his career's gone so far, though.
The same things that's been said about Jeff Green. All that talent.
Yeah,
you would have thought you would have gotten more out of it.
That's an astute observation, Pops.
So
that's
I guess,
an astute observation.
Chris, to your point, you said it may be just his role. Do you think the acquisition of Jimmy Butler was a bad acquisition, that they do too much of the similar things and he's not able to grow as much as he can?
I think Minnesota was at a point where they just had some assets, both with money to spend and with assets coming in the draft. And they were just trying to put a lot of teams. It was just in that kind of load up phase where teams were feeling like, that's what you needed to do. And they were just trying to put a bunch of names together. You know what I'm saying? I think they really were just trying to put a bunch of names and a lot of talent on one team. kind of something similar to what OKC has done, and I just don't think you've seen it really work out a whole lot for either of those teams. And then I think just a little side note, is it something to be said, maybe, Pops? What do you guys think about Eastern Conference stars trying to make that jump to the Western Conference? You know, it's kind of like your nemesis or the bad guys or the tough games, you know, that you kind of seeing every now and again, or, you know, a few times a month maybe when you're in the East. Now you're going against these guys, you know, you're playing Russell, you know, 3-4 times a year, and you're playing, you know, all these guys, Golden State 3-4 times a year. You got C.J. McCollum and them, you know, you turn around, you playing them. So you just got, it's just these big games and these crazy matchups every night. How great of a bearing of a bearing do you think that is on, you know, if any, on players, you know, these star acquisitions coming from Eastern Conference to the West?
Oh, if you can play, you can play. Jimmy Butler can hold his own with anybody, I think.
I mean, maybe not just him, though. I'm not talking about him, but just if it made a difference. Because, I mean, I do feel like, though, you've seen, like, Jimmy Butler, you know, for whatever reason, whether it be injury or whatever the case may be, he hasn't played as well. You know, Melo, you know, he hasn't played as well.
Well, I thought Jimmy had a pretty good year. Remember, he made the All-Star team. He's had a pretty good year.
I mean, he made the All-Star team, but, I mean, look at where his team finished, though. They're just barely.
Well, he was out. He only played 59 games this season.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
And they're also a team that refused with one of the top defensive coaches in the NBA.
They're not a top defensive team.
That's what I'm saying. But they've got one of the top defensive coaches, but they refuse to defend.
Is he overrated as a coach, man? Chicago ran him out of time.
I think so. He sure seems to. He gets a lot of respect and he gets a lot of benefit of the doubt for a coach who hasn't won anything. I just haven't seen anything like it. But people certainly believe in him.
Well, if Derrick Rose doesn't get hurt, what do you think?
Nothing.
I don't know. If D Rose doesn't get hurt, then I think you'd be singing a different tune about Thibodeau. But
I don't know. Is that where Minnesota is with all the talent that they got though? D Rose got to be the guy to tip things over.
He's talking about Chicago.
I'm talking about the Chicago thing.
Oh,
when D Rose got hurt, them boys was rolling. Didn't they win 61 games that 1 year?
Here you go with these games that was won. I know one thing.
Then he got hurt.
I know one thing. At the height of his career, Derrick Rose was the MVP, and he went up against a guy named LeBron James, right? And he was blocking his 3-point shots, and he was locking them up and making them look real bad out there. That's what I remember. And that was at the height of his game. That was as good as I ever remember him to be, and probably as ever as he gonna be. That was the best D Rose, and he was being dominated by a bigger, stronger, more athletic LeBron James. That's what I remember.
Well, I think Thibodeau can coach, man. But, hey, man, these guys, if they ain't buying in, they ain't buying in. Like you said, if the reports that Wiggins is unhappy with his role. And
this is a players' league. NBA is a players' league.
Yeah, well, maybe Thibodeau's too old school for these guys.
There aren't any
I was just expecting more from that team. That's all.
Look at the guys who are having success in today's league. Even Popovich, he's made certain adjustments for talented guys, i.e., look at what he's doing with Kawhi and what, you know, the leeway the leash he's giving him. I mean, dude sat out the whole season, and they feel like he's healthy. He feels like something's going on, though. You know what I'm saying? So it's a players' league. There's no longer room for outliers to that culture. It's just no longer room for it. It's okay. You can believe in the old school style and ways as much as you want to, but you have to be able to communicate with these guys. I think to a certain extent, they have to trust you and they have to believe in you. And it doesn't necessarily happen with a completely conventional, old school, traditional type way of thinking about coaching, man.
So you think Thibodeau's done a poor job this year?
I do. I think some of what they got going on is his fault. Because even outside of the injuries, I mean, they got a lot of talent. You know what I'm saying? They got a lot of talent. They just got, and it's been, guys in and out at different times. And I know that it's hard. And I guess he has still made the playoffs. But, just expect it more, man. Just expect it more. Maybe to get more out of Wiggins. We talk about him being a guy, who's, and I think, like you say, something's missing. And I think a lot of that potential it could help him out a lot on the defensive end. He's a guy who doesn't give a great effort on the defensive end.
And that's very disappointing.
Because
he
certainly
capable.
has the
tools. Yeah, he's capable.
Absolutely. He's certainly capable. So it's kind of frustrating. So the recap of Minnesota, I think they did some things. They spent some money and made some moves, and that's to be appreciated by their fan base and all that good stuff. And it did. It put them in the bid in the playoffs. Got them a playoff bid. And you know what? I'll say this for Minnesota. I won't get completely down on them because, like I said, they got talent. This is a league ran by talent. They saved their chance to save their season. They didn't save their season with the playoff berth, but they saved their chance to save their season with the playoff berth. I think if this is a team that makes it out of the first round.
Against Houston?
They got Houston, Chris. Come on, man.
Where
they going?
Houston?
Where they going, Chris?
Oh, yeah.
Where they going? They going home.
Going fishing.
All right. Well, y'all see, I clearly don't know the bracket from top to bottom. Yeah, they going fishing. But, I mean, like I say, I think it's a way to, get some peas. Obviously, Houston is a team that, they aren't expected to really be. Taking them 7, I think could say something for their season. That might save it. Taking them 7.
Well, they match up well.
Giving us a great playoff series. That might say their season for me. I'm not from Minnesota.
You don't give them no chance, Pops?
None.
Why not? You don't think you was high on T last week? You've been high on Wiggins in the past,
and I do. Even though Wiggins not a great defender, I think he has great size at the position, and I just think that they've got bodies. They have wing.
They got enough talent for sure.
Yeah, to throw. They got the guys.
You was high on Thibodeau. Why you give him no chance? You high on a lot of guys in Minnesota, but give them no chance against Houston. I just if you could tell me why.
They don't have no shot.
No. All right, there it is. Y'all want to get on a little bit of Denver? I thought Denver is interesting just because they had a chance to make the playoffs. Obviously, they lost that last game against Minnesota.
Let me tell you something. Denver is one of my favorite teams to watch right now. They so fun to watch, and I think they're a special kind of team. Their approach, the way that they get it done, because they're a team that we see in the playoff or just outside the playoff, situation. Kind of blew it late. And, maybe kind of speaks to what they're lacking, as I'm about to discuss, but they don't have a superstar. You see, today's franchise is kind of loading up, and the theory is, now we need some type of trio or a duo of, these, all-star caliber players or superstar caliber guys, to play together, and that's the only way that we can get it done. But here this is a team, battle hard in one of the toughest and most competitive Western conferences of recent years and recent memory. And they didn't have that necessarily. I like Nurkic out there. I think that he's a big time player, but I don't think that a big man can be your best player in today's league.
Hey, and as we speak, while we're watching the playoffs, as you see, Washington almost put up 60 on Toronto in the first half. That's kind of disappointing because they've been a top defensive team all year. And they come in and let Washington throw up almost 60 on you in the first half.
Man, let's discuss. Let's talk about Toronto as a playoff team, perennial playoff team.
That me and Dez both said was gonna get the Cavs of some trouble.
Right, right. Though I was gonna low key let y'all live on that. And just from a different standpoint, though, let's put on our GM hats. We love to ask the question. If you're a GM, in such and such situation, if you're a GM and you got Toronto, okay, now these guys have been together and we kind of having the same conversation about these guys, same year, whatever it is that they were able to do in the regular season, whatever adjustment they tried to make. And I know that this year they supposed to be like a 3-point shooting team or a team that can attack you more from the 3-point line. That's been a knock on them in the past. Well, guess what? It's even more of a knock on them now as they, for all of their improvement and all of, DeRozan trying to quote unquote get himself together from behind that arc. They shot even worse this year from behind the arc than they did this year. I think maybe by 1% or so.
Yeah, they went from 36.3% 3-point shooting last year to 35.8%.
And that's the Toronto Raptors. So as you see, not a great fall off, but like that's supposed to be what they're bringing. That's supposed to be the knock on this team. They don't shoot threes well in today's league where that's so important. You know what I'm saying? They don't spread the floor well for their top guys to, get the dribble penetration and be able to do the ISO things that, they might need late in games. And, they're managing to do that even worse this year. So if you're a GM out in Toronto, how big is this playoff series? How big is this playoff run? What is it that you need to see from this team moving forward to let you know just how it is that you proceed? Because to me, something's got to change. It seems like it's the same thing over and over.
One thing, though, they do a heck of a matchup because their strength is their backcourt and Washington's strength is their backcourt. And, you're talking about Wall and Bill, who, when they got it going, can be as tough as anybody, as far as the backcourt going. Mm-hmm. So, Toronto, this series could be very interesting for them. And judging by this first half, with Bill and Wall playing the way they're playing, this could be very interesting because, Kyle and DeRozan have come up short in past playoffs. And if I'm a GM, I'm looking to see how my two best players are playing. That's what I want interested in.
So let me sweeten the pot for you. Let me stick in the plot for you real quick. Okay, so what I feel like you were saying there is this series right here is a great series. It's a great test. So let me tell you this. Let me ask you this. Does DeRozan or Lowry, does one of those guys have to go if you lose? If you somehow manage to lose this series to Washington and get outed in the first round.
No, they don't have to go. They don't have to go.
So nothing necessarily has to change.
No, I'm not saying nothing has to change. Maybe you got to get another outstanding wing player.
The
Maybe
extremely mediocre business as usual, huh?
No, you might need an outstanding three to help those two. But they've got to step up their game. They've got to play better.
So we got these two guys, and both of them are such a great match, and they're both so prime at their positions and what that we need them to do in our offense.
But they're also going up against a great backcourt.
A top three.
They might. You're asking me if I'm a GM, if I have trouble or I don't get through this series, what I need? They might need a great three.
Well,
a great wing player.
Listen, we were just talking about all the money that you pay guys. How you don't want to make excuses. How much is DeRozan getting a year?
Well, yeah.
How much is Lowry getting?
Between them, they're getting close to $60 million, and they're paying that backcourt. So yeah, they're supposed to perform.
So, but we need somebody else.
Yeah, you asked me what if they lose this series. It's obvious.
You told a great story on this show one time about what a famous guy told a player and coach. If I'm not mistaken,
Sam Mitchell told
Kevin Durant,
yeah.
Hey, you the top guy. Mm-hmm. Kevin Garnett, young Kevin Garnett, complaining and saying what other guys need to get done. Hey, you the top guy. You getting the most money. You the star. These things are for you to do. So between these two guys, and it's not even one, it's
they're
two
supposed
of
to perform, Chris.
Between
I agree
these
with
two
you.
guys, they have to make it happen. And guess what? If it was me, next year, I would not have both of them on the roster. And, I'm definitely thinking Kyle Lowry. If I got to choose between the two of them, I'm definitely thinking Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry would be gone.
Who's going to take his $30 million contract at, 30 years old? 30, 31? I don't know. That'd be a hard contract to move, I would think.
Cavs might take it.
They wouldn't. It wouldn't be as hard as you think. Trust me, because, at this day and age, if you look at his resume, he won.
Chris, is he locked in for another 2 or 3 more years at $30 million a
year?
year?
Look at this.
30s?
8 shots between the two of them. Is this not the playoffs? In the first half,
I said
your
they
two
have
best
to
players
step
take 8
up.
shots?
They have, but I told you.
And to answer your question, Chris, I think somebody has to go, and maybe even the coach. I know people hate to get rid of the coach, but I think we have to send a message that
who out there is it? Dwayne Casey?
Yeah, that something's not working. And we got to put heat on somebody. And I'm not going. And I know that's a hard thing because I think he's a great coach, and I hate to say fire the coach, especially him being a brother. But I think you have to put pressure on him, man. But this looks bad. This really looks bad,
And they've done things. That front office, like Ibaka, was a good move. You know what I'm saying? You saw Biyombo kind of come up there and flourish, so he was a guy who had potential, and he got paid.
Valanciunas is solid.
Oh, man. Look at that, Chris. Rookie of the year, Ben Simmons. Look at that shirt, Chris.
Yeah, that's quite a
That's
shirt.
What you call swag, that? You like that?
Right.
Hey, he walked like the rookie.
Right.
Hey, what did Jay-Z say? Walk like a ball player. He talk like a ball player.
Like I said, definitely excited to see that boy do his thing. You know what I'm saying? I am excited. He's must-see TV for me. Make no mistake about that. So, yeah, excited to see Ben Simmons do his thing.
But this first half of this Toronto series is very disappointing. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can. What is Toronto's goal this year? Is it to beat the King? Is it to win a ring? Is it just to get out the first round, which it looks?
Well, they were the number one seed. You would think they're trying to get to the championship.
Even though obviously the Cavs are like the big obstacle that's still in front of them, I would just say if somehow through the graces of the seeding you were able to maneuver your way to the Eastern Conference Finals and ultimately still lose to the Cavs, I would have called that a great season for them at this point.
You would?
I would.
Okay.
I would.
Now tell me this.
But it's not a great season for Houston
it's
to win
just
65 games. Okay.
I mean, we talking about playoff success.
Can you
like wins and losses?
Can you agree though? Not speaking as a GM, because I think the GM job is a little different than the owner. As an owner, you have a field or a packed house almost every night. They have great fans from the support. Do you risk giving away one of these star players and not getting enough back and kind of starting over? Even though I think the money's rolling in, you got Drake sitting front row every season. You're in the playoffs. They bringing in good money.
My whole thing is and that's why you gotta evaluate the two. You gotta evaluate the two of them and say, okay, who gives me the greatest opportunity to retain as much as I got going on, but at the same time, who on the market gives me the opportunity to gain enough of what I need to potentially, get over the hump. But I mean, to me, you eventually your fan base is gonna be hurt anyway by your what is it called when you're not pressing onward, by your
just being stagnant,
by your complacency.
Yeah.
Eventually your fandom, the sophisticated fandom at least, will turn on you for your complacency.
Is he a top 25 player in the league?
We've been here for a long time. What's up?
Is DeMar DeRozan a top 25 player in the league?
I would certainly think so. I mean, because in my mind, he's probably a top 5 shooting guard. The shooting guard is a weak position in the NBA. Has been for years. Especially now that I'm just stating for the record, I no longer consider James Harden a 2-guard. Like, he's a point guard. The guy averages 10 assists a game. He led the league on average for assists a game. LeBron led the league in assists total. But assists a game is Harden. You know what I'm saying?
All right, man. Let's move to the hometown team, man. You got the Cleveland Cavs, 50-32 record, 4th seed. During the year, they had won 18 of 19. That streak happened before Christmas. They dealt with a lot this season. First Kyrie left. We brought in IT, Jay Crowder. They ended up leaving. Arrival of the new troops. And, they're not really sprinting into the playoffs, but, we're starting to pick up some speed going into the playoffs. What's our expectations, and are you guys excited about the team?
Man, big time excited about those hometown Cavs, Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm excited for the opportunity for these young guys. LeBron spoke about it and just appreciating all the new things that they've done. I think it was winning the division again. And he was saying, got to give these guys the opportunity to appreciate everything that's at hand for them. It's a new thing, maybe even though he's been there a bunch of times before. And I'm kind of finding that same kind of excitement. Finding the excitement for the young guys. Anytime when you go play with LeBron, I always am very interested to see. I think it says a lot about a guy, how he reacts to the pressure of, coming to play with a guy who is so great and who definitely he's going to put you center stage. He's going to put you on the biggest stage in the sport. And that it's coming. So just how you respond to that pressure, I'm always excited to see how guys take that on. And I'm excited to see the young talent that we have now. I'm anxious to see my boy Jordan Clarkson out there. I'm very excited to see how he's gonna respond. It's gonna be his first playoffs. I'm excited to see. I think it's gonna be a big part of our postseason success. Is gonna be how Nance responds. Definitely down low. I know that it gets a whole lot muddier, It's a lot more physical. That playoff brand of basketball is gonna change a whole lot for him.
We bought back big Kendrick Perkins for the roster. You know, a little.
Hey, and I like that move. I like that move though.
I think I called it at the beginning of the season. I don't know.
I do. I give you credit for that. I vaguely remember something like that.
And why is that such a big move, Chris?
I think that's a big move because I think when you getting ready to try to make a championship run, every championship team, you need a bit of a nasty streak. You need that element. You need that tough element. You know, you about to be going into these hostile environments on the road.
You mean he's actually going to play?
Hostile crowds.
No.
He's not going to play.
Oh,
but it's for the mentality and the
I was
energy.
wondering where you were going with that.
It's for the mentality and the energy. But don't get me wrong. Like, do I see him coming in maybe at the end of a half or something to foul somebody real hard and set the record straight if LeBron like gets fouled hard or something? Or
I think he gets brought into some series. You know, when guys like David West get a little too grimy and a little too dirty. You know, he gets 2 minutes out there and set the tone, man. Get things back right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he gonna average a foul a game.
I'm excited. I want to see what LeBron does with this cast of characters he's had. I'm excited about the Cavs. I want to see what Bron does. I'm gonna see if the King can get to the. Well, I don't like to call him the King. I take that back. I refuse to call him.
Tell
the
it like
King.
it is.
No,
man.
I refuse to call him the King. But I want to see if Bron can get to his 8th straight finals. Be a heck of an accomplishment. And like you, Chris, a guy I want to keep my eye on, who I was high on when we acquired him, is Jordan Clarkson. I want to see how he performs in these playoffs. I want to see if he can somewhat give us not what Kyrie gave us, nowhere near, but a touch.
He's gonna be in that
at the
role,
offensive
though.
end. Yeah,
he's gonna be in
where
that
where we
role,
go to
though.
him to get a bucket. And I want to see exactly. I anticipate. I just want to see exactly how he performs. But I think they're ready to make a run. You know, they're going to go deep. Ty Lue's been pretty good in the playoffs, so I expect that too.
I ain't gonna lie. Is it so weird that I low key want to know what's the dude who is interim coaching for us?
Larry Drew.
Larry Drew, man. I don't know, man. Maybe I would like to know what Larry Drew was thinking sometimes in some of these playoff situations, man. He was doing a mighty good job coaching us.
Well, I know the one change, it seems like they're not going to start Jose Calderon. They said they are going to go 10 players deep, so I expect him to play. I think they said 4 positions are set. George Hill, LeBron, Kevin Love, and Jeff Green. And I think that 5th position was still up for grabs.
Be interesting to see how George Hill plays, and it'll be interesting to see how the left-handed kid Hood plays. Those two guys, I want to see what they give them. But I
think
really,
those are our biggest X factors right now.
But I want to, but really, Jordan Clarkson, man, he's intriguing offensively. The fact that he can get he's aggressive. I don't know what kind of playoff series or what kind of playoff run he's going to have, but he's just he's an intriguing player.
So
I expect him to stand up, though. Let me just say that. Having played with Russell, not played with Russell, but played with Kobe, I expect him to stand up.
Yeah,
you know
I want to keep my eye on exactly what Jordan Clarkson comes up with.
So Kyrie has been taking a lot of our big shots, you know, in these past playoffs. Or is it strictly LeBron now, or do you see Jordan Clarkson?
No, I think it's going to be
a combination.
But if I know anything about the way that LeBron plays, it's definitely going to be a combination. Guys are definitely going to have the opportunity to take some big shots. You know, last shots, obviously, I think he's at a point in his career where, you know, it's hard to let another guy miss a last shot and have LeBron on your team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, last shot, he's obviously probably going to be our first, second, and third option on the last shot. But for a big shot, no, I think Kyle Korver's going to get a chance to take a lot of big shots. Swish, you know, who I just was checking out an uninterrupted sequence that was nice. You know.
Do you think it's going to be like
Swish is going to get a chance to take some big ones.
Do you think it's going to be somewhat like 2015? How many playoff games did Kyrie miss that first year? Did he miss like 3 or 4? Was it just Atlanta series?
I think just the Atlanta series.
That was it? He played every other game?
Well, and of course in the finals.
Yeah, in the finals. So he missed the finals, and he missed a couple games against Atlanta?
I'm pretty sure that's
how did we handle things when he played against Atlanta? When we played against Atlanta?
Well, we swept Atlanta.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it wasn't a problem, really.
No.
And I don't think
now when he was out,
did we have Kevin Love? I don't think we had Kevin Love.
Yeah, Kevin was gone too.
Yeah, Kevin got injured.
Yeah, LeBron was 3 years younger then, right?
Yeah, I thought Shump played well. I thought JR played well. Tristan, that was Tristan's best, season ever.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happened to that?
But I see you might see some of that. However, we rolled then because like you, I forgot this. We were out without Love too. We were out with Love, and then Kyrie missed a couple of games. And remember LeBron saying he told the young guys, "Don't worry about it." Yeah, he said, "I got you." What is Dez? He was 3 years younger then, or 4 years younger.
Hey, I can't tell the difference, man.
But yeah, that was something, man. Without Love, he told Kyrie when he took them couple games, "Hey, I got you."
Nah, man, we got some things happening off the court though for the Cavs, man. I mean, what's the bigger distraction right now? Are people worried about LeBron James leaving? Or is maybe this Tristan?
That boy Tristan, dirty ENT, baby. Shout out to my boy.
Are these really distractions right now, or?
I don't think the Tristan thing is much of a distraction. It's more TMZ fodder, that kind of thing. I don't think it's going to. Because he might not play that big a role on the team, no way. The way he's been playing, I don't think that's a big. I don't know if they're thinking about LeBron leaving. I was hoping though that Tristan
was somebody who was about to get ready to maybe try to play big for us though. Start having some of those old feelings back. Get some of that old nasty streak back as we see Toronto, start to put it together.
By the way, Chris, what has happened to Tristan these past year or so? Is it injuries?
Man, Justin got
full.
Got fat. Yeah, got full, got fat, literally, and
you don't like fat like gaining weight. Like
you don't think he's in the condition he used to be in?
No, I mean in the sense I think he did put on a little weight.
Mm-hmm.
He had to work himself back into shape. But I mean more in the sense
has he been healthy?
He's just full with his mentality. He's not hungry. Tristan Thompson was your hustle guy, your energy guy. It takes a certain type of mentality to go out and make those plays night in and night out. You gotta want it.
We
more.
just don't see that anymore.
You're right. And I mean I think that's what was it, $60 million, $80 million? Whatever the figure was, that's what that does, and I think that's what a ring does for some guys, especially if you never expected to be here.
Well,
that's what LeBron playing with
Chris,
LeBron.
Hey, Chris, you especially because didn't you say a couple weeks ago you were happy with that one ring? I think you and Dez say you were happy with that one ring, and I told you that was the wrong mentality to have. So I know you ain't talking.
From a fan standpoint, I'm not out there competing. This man he gets paid to compete.
I know you and Dez ain't talking because you seem to be very satisfied with that one ring.
Hey, grateful. I'm grateful.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? How could I not be? I ain't never had nothing. How could I not be? But yeah, I think Tristan was a guy that I hope that is able to tighten it up and still maybe go a last hurrah for us. If you will, because I don't think he's going to be somebody who's going to be around for a whole lot longer. We're going to find a way to get him off the books and get him out of here.
Here's a question. What do y'all expect from Kevin?
Oh, Kevin,
I think he focused.
He's going to have a
I think he focused.
And if you look at him, man, whatever he did to that jumper, that new and improved Kevin release, oh, my goodness. Man, it's taking off like a thief in the night. And man, that boy.
Does he go 20-10 throughout the playoffs?
I think so.
And he's a factor.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Does he have some big rebound games?
Yeah, I think what I want to see from him is his patience on offense. I thought later in the season, it's not the buckets that he gets for himself, but the buckets that he gets from others. I think sometimes in the past I've seen Kevin like force shots up and just take like bad shots, and then be like you didn't have to do that.
I think those are rhythm seeking shots. I know exactly what you mean, and I think those be rhythm seeking shots though, trying to find the rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like I'm gonna challenge the Cavs and our coaching to do more is take a greater means to keep him involved in the game. Like I say, not necessarily a whole bunch of points like you had just made a point about, but putting him in position to be involved in our offense and be a focal point.
Because he's a great passer. You know what I'm saying? Get him involved. There's no reason. Can Kevin average 5 assists a game in the playoffs? Yes. Easily. Average 5 assists, find the
Great
right
player
guy.
off the block, and that's such a great place to jumpstart our offense, especially I feel like with the players that we have, our primary playmaker being LeBron James, and he attacks so much from the top of the key. It's a lot like when LeBron chooses to attack from the post and get the ball in the post. It's a different look, so hard to defend with all of those shooters. Send the ball down low, let the offense originate and start get initiated from the block. So I'm challenging the coaching staff on that. Kevin Love, he's got to be somebody. He's got to stay patient.
And
but I
control
think
the
that's
tempo.
something you'll see. Yeah, you'll see that more, though, when he know that his touch is coming.
Yeah, so that's what I kind of want to see from him. Just being more of a manager of the game. Like, man, I don't have to score to win this game. I can get rebounds, even though I think he's going to have to score for us to win. But I just want to see him affect the game without scoring. I want to see him rebound. I want to see him throw assists. And, like you said, that new and improved jumper, if that's going, man, we unstoppable, man. And, he's going, and like you said, he's going to have to be a guy that's going to hit a big shot at the end of games, when LeBron's going to the hole and kicks it out.
And expect I expect him to have some games where he's striking it up, and hit 6 or 7 from beyond the arc. Know that that's coming. That boy, he got a heart of a champion. He definitely gonna turn the tide of some games.
So he's still hungry, you think?
Absolutely. I think because Kevin Love, he was a guy who had some success, and I think he came and he worked hard to make it work. You know what I'm saying? But this isn't something that he never foresaw for himself, man. Like I was trying to say, LeBron playing with LeBron, they can put you in positions that you never saw for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Tristan Thompson is one of those guys. I don't think that he ever saw all of this success for himself.
Yeah, bagging a Kardashian, living that LA lifestyle.
Right. He rings, you know what I'm saying? Being a household name. Like, he was a bit of a playboy for a minute. Like, girls like him or whatever. So
y'all seem not to worry about that off-court distraction. What about LeBron? Are y'all thinking about him leaving, or we just gonna focus on the playoffs?
Man, no. And that's the beautiful. That's why this is such a beautiful time. Because all of the stuff that Cleveland fans got to deal with, and all of the hearsay and all of the LeBron talk and all of that, now it no longer matters. This is the main event. You are officially cued in. It's playoff time, baby, and it's just, it's on. It's really on.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be much of a factor in the playoffs. I read Kevin's comments the other day. He said, well, it's the elephant in the room, so to speak, but I don't think they're worried about. I would think they're focused on playing well and trying to get back to the finals.
Because that's such a key piece for, I think, whether or not he stays or he leaves. Like, getting back to the finals and certain guys stepping up and showing them some things and making them secure in the assets that he has going into the future. As we see Lowry, with his pit bull mentality, getting it going in the second half, playing downhill, getting the finish. That's just a big key piece. So, you can't get lost. Ultimately, he's not going to make the decision until after the season.
So why worry about it?
Why worry about it? Especially not when what you're doing now is so significant to that outcome. Like, put your best foot forward in this. This is how you make your difference.
I do have one question though. Can he sustain the energy for 16 for what you got to win 16 games? What do you think about his energy level? With the fact that he didn't take his breaks this year like he normally does, even though they had the spaced out schedule. But he played all 82 games. You think he'll have the energy and the stamina to do what he does?
That'll be something new. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, with the new restructuring of the schedule, I don't think it's going to take as big a toll as it maybe would have in the past. But that's something that's gonna be new and that you're gonna have to keep your eyes on and see. But that's something that sophisticated fans, especially all over the Cleveland area and here in the hometown, they definitely got their eyes on that, and LeBron fans got their eyes on that because, like you say, an 82-game season is something that it's our first time seeing this from LeBron, and for a guy we were just talking about, 3 straight finals wearing and tearing on Golden State. For a guy with as many minutes logged as LeBron does, you watching hot for the wear and tear on everything. So, we definitely gonna have to watch LeBron and see how he responds. But I will let me say this in the same breath. I think that he's fully up to the challenge, physically and with his body, and that he's been preparing for it. So I don't expect it to be
You don't
a huge thing.
expect to be a problem?
No, I don't.
Okay.
That's not something that I'm gonna say. Oh, he played 82 games. That's why this, that, and the third. I'm definitely not gonna feel like that.
All right, man. Let's head out to Boston, man. This was a team that made a lot of moves during the offseason, man. You got first they made first they picked up in free agency Hayward, and obviously he went down in the first quarter of the first game. Then they made a trade for Kyrie, Mr. Kyrie Irving. Trading their MVP candidate last year, Isaiah Thomas. The hard-nosed veteran, Jay Crowder, and a young guy, Ante Zizic, and then of course the pick. What do you guys think of their season? Was this a season, with two of their best players going down? Was it just a loss of a season? And
I think their season is so special. And I actually commented earlier to you guys. I don't know if we were on air yet, but just talking about how they really got me excited because I think they're one of the teams. They're going to have enough talent and they're going to have good enough coaching. They're going to be a well enough coach team to optimize everything that they have to offer from a player standpoint and a talent standpoint to really compete with Golden State heading into the future. If they do decide to stay together, because everybody's like, oh, Klay's going to leave or Draymond's going to leave, somebody's going to have to leave. But what if they don't? What if these guys ultimately in the front office are such geniuses that they end up, finessing somebody to stay for the cheap? And that's what happens and they are able to stay together. From a basketball standpoint and from a fandom standpoint, what's the challenge for a Golden State Warriors team as it stands without a LeBron James, who's really basically like playing in his prime or playing at his, a prime level type game? Where's the challenge for a team like that without him at that level? So I just think about the status of the league going forward. I think that Boston is a team, to kind of be like, the new big dog to really challenge him and and show him something. Okay, DeRozan, I see you knocking down your second three in this third quarter. That's that three ball. They showing it. And it's still only a 3-point game.
I agree with you too, Chris. I think what Boston did this year was pretty special. With the injuries, to Kyrie and to Gordon, and all the young talent they showed. And I just love to watch the way they play. They play together. They play hard. Special season. As much as I hate to give Boston any credit for anything, special season. And plus they got the Shaker Heights kid, Rozier there. Hard not to root for him. Yeah. Hard not to root for him. He's another guy that plays hard. What will be interesting, though, is to see how he performs in the playoffs. I am very curious to see what he does in these playoffs.
Pops, is he a starter in the NBA?
I think so. Yeah, I think he's got that kind of game. If the kid, if Darren Collinson can start in the NBA, yeah, he can start.
Not if Darren Collinson. Darren Collinson was a quality
guard. I'm not knocking him, but I'm saying Darren Collinson starts for Indiana at point guard. I'm sure Terry Rozier can do what Darren Collinson does.
Check this out. Mm-hmm. I think, but it's his stock on both ends. He
he defends.
Right. But it's that defensive equity for me that makes it, less of a question. I don't want to say a no-brainer. I get why maybe you want to ask just because he's somebody you seen come off the bench. But, no, the stock on both ends make him a clear starter in my mind. And then you see the upside on offense. He's starting to get it more. He's being more aggressive in the pick-and-roll situation. He's polished the jumper up. You see him being more aggressive with the jumper and more aggressive.
I can't wait to see how he performs in these playoffs.
I think this is a huge playoff for Terry Rozier because it's going to say a lot. I think that they are, though. Boston is a team with so much talent and so much young talent that they are going to have to make some choices about, who to keep moving forward. And I think it's a huge just an opportunity for Terry Rozier to really raise his stock this playoffs. But I think the greatest value for Boston is just going to be the experience and the growth that it gives the young players in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. This experience that they're getting right now is invaluable. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Being able to play in a situation, unencumbered. I hate to say it, but I mean it is when you play with a
Why aren't
star.
they gonna trade those two for Kawhi Leonard?
I mean, hey, that's a thought. But like I said, I don't know. To me, if you the Celtics, you've done some very clever and slick maneuvering, and you're still in prime position. But I'm not getting nobody else that's hurt. You bring them back. You get them healthy. You get them on the court. Let me check them out. Then we'll talk. That's if I'm Danny Ainge. That's the way I'm thinking. But no, though, I think that it is what's so invaluable about not only this season but also this playoff run is the opportunity that it's going to get these young guys to not just contribute but to be leaders. You know what I'm saying? I think that completely changes your trajectory. You know what I'm saying, in your whole career, because it's what it sets your mind up for. You come in being a role player, and that's it's easy to fall into. It takes an ambitious person to say, "Oh no, don't want to be here." Most people think, "Okay, this how it's gonna be. Prepare for this." You know what I'm saying?
So who do you see stepping up the most between these young guys? You got Terry Rozier.
I think Jaylen Brown, because I didn't know. I thought we was gonna talk about the younger guys.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Terry Rozier. You don't consider him a younger guy?
Well, yeah, I do, but to me, with Jaylen Brown being a second-year guy and then Jason Tatum being a rookie, they really young. Those is the really young guys.
My vote goes to the guard. I go with Terry.
Yeah, and that's why I say if we gonna put Terry in, obviously with his experience and like I said,
he's gonna have the ball in his hands a lot.
Yeah, and like he's stepping in directly at the position where the loss was. Kyrie was obviously a guy where a lot of offense can, potentially come from him, and they might not have necessarily got it all this year.
I want to see how him and Bledsoe go at each other, too. If Bledsoe is healthy and right, Bledsoe can be, I don't know if he's the defensive player he used to be, but Bledsoe can be, he can be a pain in the behind, so that's going to be very interesting.
Who checks Giannis, Morris, Tatum, or Brown?
I think it's going to be by committee, but I think Morris has got to be being the veteran guy. I think he's got to step up and really take the bulk of that load. He's that guy. He's their nasty guy, We talked about that, and to me, he's that guy for them, they nasty guy. So
does this series intrigue you guys at all? Do you see?
Yeah, it's intriguing. Yeah. It's intriguing to me. Yeah, I want to see how Giannis plays.
And the Bucks are another team. I mean, not as much pressure, but to me, I see them. Everybody talks about how Giannis is just in line to inherit the league after LeBron. As far as his team goes, that may be from an individual point for Giannis, but as far as his team goes, they're on a trajectory a lot more similar to the Toronto Raptors than they are the Cleveland Cavaliers in my mind. Like they a team kind of live in the same situation.
Yeah, that's him.
You know what I'm saying? They live in the same situation kind of over and over again each season. I know Giannis is a guy, we talked about his jumper, and is he going to be able to polish it up enough to really make some noise?
Does Brad Stevens make a big input on this series? Does his coaching put him over the top?
I think so. I think he can. I think he can really shake things up out in Milwaukee because to me, I mean, clearly somebody thinking the same thing because they get rid of Jason Kidd. And, for reasons, I'm not 100% on what the status was out there in Milwaukee with the head coach situation. But, I mean, Jason Kidd is a legend. When you get a guy like that out of there, he was a guy I was happy to see get that job and get that opportunity.
Yeah,
I think when you see a guy like that ultimately vacated, you wonder, what was it that happened? But I think that maybe some changes are in order out in Milwaukee. Especially if you were to see them lose to a Kyrie-less Boston team, those young guns, I think that would shake a tree or two out there in Wisconsin. And
I want to see.
You might see some things change.
That's another interesting storyline. I want to see what Stevens does too. Remember last year, Stevens was in trouble before Rondo got hurt. Chicago had beaten him in the first 2 games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to see what Stevens does. They got him as the boy genius, but that's another interesting storyline because he was in trouble last year to what Rondo did to him.
Well, I think he was underarmed too. I thought it was the Rondo Isaiah matchup with Isaiah being hurt. Rondo was kind of getting so much the better of that matchup. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
Was he hurt?
I think it wasn't like really hurt. Was
yeah, he wasn't hurt by then, was he?
He got hurt in our series. I didn't know. I don't know if he went into the playoffs getting hurt.
I thought he had been hurt the whole time.
No, I don't think so. Because he has a big playoff game.
Maybe he did get hurt in the regular. Yeah, he did have. But Chris might be right. I think he didn't he get dinged in the regular season.
Hey, and man, then you heard what Zach Randolph said. We all dinged up, man, in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We all hurt, man. Hey, I just quick. I had saw this, man. Devin Booker. I'm done with not making the playoffs. Does this mean the Suns need to make a trade, or do they find a way to make this work?
I mean, I think young players, they especially with a lot of other young guys kind of having some quick success, it's easy to get frustrated. I wouldn't be worried about anything that happens right after the season because it's an emotional time, especially while the playoffs are going on. But, guys, they go on vacations, they relax, they decompress. You roll out a nice plan for them and show them as Ibaka, takes a hit to the undercarriage.
Who did that? Oubre,
you know
away.
it.
Didn't ask him was he right or not.
Hey, good play though,
Oubre, boy, I love to have him on our team. He's a tough, hard-nosed dude, man.
He give us troubles every time we face the Wizards.
He do. I like him on defense. He got to sure things up on offense to me though, because he a guy.
He a hustle guy though, man.
But he young, and at the same time, I feel like you see a lot of guys with his stature and got some of the same kind of athleticism as him. They much better players.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about a guy who, however he is, 6'8", 6'7", 6'9" or so, rangy, athletic, can shoot the ball. You see those guys being a little bit better than maybe where he's at right now. But I love what he takes on the defensive end for this Washington team. He steps it up on the defensive end for him.
All right, man. We didn't spend a lot of time on basketball. I do want to cover one more thing, even though I think it's a pretty easy question. Obviously there was a lot of big movement this offseason, not as quite as big as Kevin Durant going to the Warriors 2 years ago. But, we saw Chris Paul go to the Clippers through, was that trade or free agency? It was a trade, I believe. Paul Millsap being picked up in free agency. Kyrie through trade. Gordon Hayward through trade. Jimmy Butler through a trade. Isaiah Thomas through a trade. What was the biggest offseason acquisition this year?
Either Chris Paul or Kyrie Irving, right?
Either when one guy not hardly playing, I think it was Chris Paul hands down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're just talking about how big 65 games was.
Yeah.
Like, gotta be Chris Paul.
Yeah, but early on, Kyrie was in the conversation for a lot of people were saying he.
That
might
wasn't
be considered for
like,
MVP.
come on now. Are those the real MVP talks?
I mean, but I'm saying early
on. The real
on.
MVP talks are after All-Star break.
But he did
that
impact.
First 25 game MVP talks.
He did impact that franchise, though. I mean, let's not kid ourselves.
Sure, I guess so.
But Chris Paul's team won 65 games, even though Chris missed about 20.
Man, what they've done this season as far as the impact, Chris Paul has had a much better season. Kyrie has had an injury-ridden season, and even if you look at by the numbers, it hasn't been an excellent season for him. You know what I'm saying? We just talked about that. By the numbers, and that's the time that he was out there. This hasn't been a great season.
For who?
For Kyrie.
Oh, come on.
In terms of what he did last year, a lot of numbers were down or eerily the same.
Come on, Chris.
I mean, for a guy who's supposed to be the leader of his own team, you was doing this under LeBron. You was getting 24 under LeBron, man.
Hey,
you heard the numbers.
Hey, Nation, about time for me to check out. This guy getting ready to give me a headache, man. These youngsters getting ready to give me a headache.
We moving to your specialty, man. Chris had a question, man, about a young.
I'm gonna just get a quick question before you go, man, because we know that you was tired in here before we even got started.
You tell me Kyrie didn't have a good year, man. Yeah, I'm tired.
All right, cool.
Well, I guess before we move on, were you excited at Kyrie's year? I mean, the injury-prone stuff came back up.
What was it?
I thought Kyrie played well when he was healthy.
When he was healthy, but when he was not healthy, were you proud of that? You were happy with him sitting on your bench?
I don't want to see him getting hurt. I didn't want to see him getting hurt. I mean, I don't know if Kyrie's injury prone. I don't know if that knee's going to be a problem in the future.
I
told y'all last week.
We injury prone.
We may have dodged a bullet. I don't know.
Overall, it was a lost season for Kyrie. You agree?
I agree.
No,
he should have
been
got the surgery.
That.
He shouldn't have been playing with folks. He should have been got the surgery.
He should have gotten that movie last summer. He should have got the surgery then. Kyrie knows that. He should have been making movies. Should have took care of that knee. I don't know if that knee's going to be a problem, but I can't say it was a bad year. Look how he impacted. They were the talk of the NBA for a while. Didn't they win about 16, 17 straight games?
They were the talk of the NBA last year, and they fell short.
Kyrie had a good year before he got hurt.
But if you add the injury.
Still not a bad year for him.
All right. Chris, man, you can move on because I can't ask you.
All right, man. I just had one question. I just wanted to highlight you about Ohtani out there.
Too early, Chris, to be talking about this guy, man. He's had a couple good weeks, but look like he's going to be an impact player.
We haven't seen what he's doing on both sides of the ball in a while.
It's
he's
unique.
having a couple good weeks.
What you
but
mean
it's
in a while?
Not just pitching.
We haven't seen it since Babe Ruth. I'll tell you that.
Okay, so what you mean?
That's in a long
Let's not
while.
act like this isn't worth recognizing. Then a few good weeks, not just pitching. A few good weeks, not just hitting. A few weeks doing both at once.
Talk to me about Ohtani.
So you don't got nothing to say. This guy ain't exciting. He not raising no eyebrows, and you talking about this something we ain't seen since Ruth.
He's piqued my interest. That's all I'll say.
That's all you got to say about a guy who piques your interest.
Yeah, he's piqued my interest.
Man, I hate to hear what you got to say about a guy who lukewarm, man.
He's piqued my interest a little bit. Chris, with 2 weeks in.
This a tough guy.
With 2 weeks in.
This a tough guy. Well, let me
You know what's the most impressive thing in the 2 weeks, what my boy is doing, what I used to tell Dez all the time about the star of the Cleveland Indians management staff. Mickey Callaway got them New York Mets at 11 or 12-1. That's what's piqued my interest, Chris. Mickey Callaway got them Mets playing some baseball up there. That's what's piqued my interest so far in this baseball season.
Well, I'm not sure if the Indians won, but is the winning streak going on still? I know they were on like a 4 or 5 game.
No, the Indians lost last night.
Okay.
The Indians lost last night. They got rained out today, but that to me, that's who I've been keeping my eye on, Chris. The Mets and the Boston Red Sox start too. I think they're 12, 13-2. Both teams are out there.
Care to weigh in? I know it's still early, but I don't imagine that's going to be your response to everything.
Yeah, it's still early, man.
Do you care to weigh in on the Yankees experiment with Giancarlo and Aaron Judge experiment? It hasn't gone great so far.
Man, they're going to score a lot of runs. They're going to strike out a lot.
That hasn't – oh, yeah, but the striking out part has been more true.
Yeah, too early.
Give us this. Since it's all non-significant now, at what point do you start to worry? At what point should Yankee fans get a little antsy? I know they there already. I mean, it's New York. But at what point do the sophisticated, real baseball Yankee fans start to feel a little anxious? Like,
you start Memorial Day things by Memorial Day things are starting to take shape.
All right.
You get a feel for what's going to happen.
Memorial Day then.
Yeah, we talk about that around Memorial Day.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you, Pops, man. We know you need a nap, man. It's past your bedtime.
Well, y'all get ready to talk football.
And I appreciate these
playoffs.
Hey,
when they talk football and the Cleveland Browns, it's time for me to go to sleep. You know what I'm saying?
We only got one topic, man. You can stay there. Because you were interested about this guy. Jarvis Landry inks a mega deal with the Cleveland Browns.
I just wanted to hear Chris's opinion about that contract.
So it seems like, Chris, you were correct because it's an extension. So it looks like he is going to play on a franchise tag. And then he also signed a 5-year, $75 million, $47 million guaranteed contract.
Hold on. One more time. What, 5 years?
$75 million.
$75 million, $47 million guaranteed?
Yes, is Landry worth this type of money?
Young brothers getting paid. Get paid, young brother, get paid. I like to see that. Go get the money.
Is he worth this type of money?
Absolutely. I think as productive as a guy, you've seen some of the most premier talents in history. You've all seen them be affected by who they've got throwing the ball. This guy's been a model of productivity, and he hasn't had a great signal caller or pass thrower getting them the ball. I feel like we need somebody whose production he knows the situation. Like, you know what I'm saying? This Brown situation, not having the best quarterback, not necessarily having the best team. he knows this situation. He knows about having to be a leader and a professional in his approach. You know, even in a situation with a franchise that's, you know, trying to grow and trying to get to the next level. So I just think that this guy's a familiar guy and very familiar and been productive in this situation. Good guy to get the money to, man.
Right.
As we see Lowry take a hard foul, they definitely got to take a look at that. I don't know if that was necessarily a basketball play, though. It seemed like a big body-to-body collision. I didn't necessarily see where he tried to get the ball at.
No, me either.
That didn't look too good.
You got to that's a flagrant.
Mm-hmm.
That's a flagrant. All right, man. Well, yeah, if you're excited about it, man, I think I'm excited about it, man. I know we haven't had a wide receiver like this since I've been watching the Browns. You know, I guess my only question is, if he's considered a slot receiver, do you pay a slot receiver this amount of money?
Don't get. And my whole thing is, listen, don't get caught up in that slot receiver, outside receiver game. That's a receiver that the front office guys play with guys to keep from giving them their money. When the dude out there catching 100-some balls and he trying to get paid like it.
That's a number one receiver playing in the slot.
Yeah, exactly. What do it matter? And then if you notice, the best guys, man, they playing all over.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The best guys, they get moved all over. It's part of the game plan. So, no, I think Jarvis Landry is just a great pass catcher and a great playmaker. You know, and who can make the plays all over the field wherever we need him and get paid like such, man. I will say this, though. That's a lot of money. If we gave him that much, you know, are we necessary? I guess, you know, Josh Gordon he's not in a position to get paid like that. Yeah, but, you know, do we still have, you know, I guess we done right by the money, though. You know, he the first guy we didn't pay. But
we paid, are you talking about this regime? Because we paid, what's the name, last year?
Yeah, I'm saying this year.
Okay.
He the first guy we didn't pay, so I don't. Obviously, Josh Gordon not gonna be in a position to get paid like that. But I just want to make sure that, you know, we got some dollars to still make it worthwhile for him. Whatever the market, because the market he gonna be worth something.
So tell me this: who do you think Dez Bryant should land to? Do you want to see him land with your Patriots?
Man, do you know that really blew that? I ain't gonna say that blew my mind. But like that, like at least for as long as I've been watching football, like I know people always talking about these Emmitt Smith Cowboys and this, that, and the third. But the Cowboys I grew up kind of like really watching, you know what I'm saying, and even being a fan of, because I am I don't really know why, but I'm lightweight a Cowboys fan. They on some just they America's team type shit. I mean stuff, and the Cowboys that I knew that I was watching, I mean, Tony Romo, Dez Bryant.
Yeah.
Those was the guys who, like, was the constants. You know what I'm saying?
And Jason Witten.
and Jason Witten. So, to see those guys, you know, kind of gone, you know what I'm saying? I think, you know, it shows that, you know, they usher in a new era and that times are changing out there in the Big D. But I'm excited for what they doing. And I think it was time. Dez was definitely on the decline, you know. So, and I knew he wasn't gonna take less. I knew he wasn't gonna trick himself out that money. So no, I get it, man. I get it 100%. And you know, it was something that I definitely saw on the horizons. But just to see it get locked in, you know, the way that it did this off season, Dez no longer in a Cowboys uniform. That's going to take some getting used to, y'all. That's going to take some getting used to. But as far as where I like to see him go, the Patriots. I like the Patriots. I mean, it's a team, you know, that's underarmed at that wide receiver position. My boy Tom, I just always feel like when he got the right amount of help at receiver, they just going to always win it. Like, I feel like the only time they don't is when he don't got the guys that he needs to get. The guys can't get them balls reeled in, man. We saw it last year in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, when it comes to help for time, man, I'm always with it, man.
Can he fit in that orange or brown, man? Him, Josh Gordon, Landry?
I don't think so. I don't think this is a good place for him. I think this is. I think this hurt his legacy a little bit if he come here. You know, you go to the Patriots and you had a good year. You add to what you didn't did. You know what I'm saying?
I can see him with any of the like top tier quarterbacks, like maybe the San Diego, You know, the Chargers, you know, they need wide receiver help. I'm not sure if Mike Williams is going to pan out or not. You know, that was a first round pick they got last year from Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Drew Brees could always look for another big time wide receiver. Even though he got one in Mike Thomas, but you know, the more weapons you put around him, you know, he gonna air it out. Aaron Rodgers, you know, who have they picked up after they lost?
I like
Nelson?
the idea of him going to Green Bay. I like the idea of him going to Green Bay. I just don't know if he can catch them hot sauce balls for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, them hands ain't his forte, so I don't. Yeah. Aaron put a lot of mustard on them balls.
Right.
I don't know. Honestly, that's weird that I say that, but I really don't even know if he could catch AR. But I don't know, man. Dez, he's one of those guys. I do think that it's gonna be cool to see where he goes, but I don't think that he's at a point in his career where he can be any like a real cog for a team. Like, oh yeah, like we gonna get Dez Bryant and it's gonna take us over the top in this way. Like I don't really know what he does that well at this point, because he's not the jump ball deep threat guy that you once was. But I do think that obviously he's got a certain pedigree as a receiver in this league. He knows certain things. He plays the game at a certain level. He plays the game with a certain IQ. I think he's still an asset to a team, but I don't think that, don't get the name association confused. He's not that kind of player anymore. I'm just saying I don't think we're talking about a top 10 receiver anymore.
No, not today. But he's still a top guy though. I think he can be your number 2. It's similar to when Crabtree kind of revived. I'm gonna fuck up the word, but got his career back going when he went to the Raiders this year. He had a big season this year. I could see Dez doing something similar if he played with another all-star wide receiver.
I was about to say Crabtree was with the Raiders last year too, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's not there this year though. But he had a big season this year. I thought when he was healthy.
But one thing about Crabtree though is Crabtree was young. Crabtree was somebody who the first few years of his career had got derailed because of obviously as soon as he came in the league he just wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? All of the off the court, off the field stuff, and about the money, and just he started with a lot of drama, and he had a little drama this year as well. We saw that, but that he was younger.
Mm-hmm.
To me those situations aren't as comparable because of the different points at the career that these players are. This is Dez. He's more in the twilight of his career. Like, I mean, honestly, I don't know that Dez can play 3 more years, two maybe. And like I said, that could be off the name, but you know how it is. You could come in and work out and get on the team
and get cut.
That too. That too. But you know how it be when you're not as productive. You have another year not being too productive. Yeah, that could get him out the league. Yeah, but in conclusion though, we definitely got a great slate of playoff games going on. We in here checking out this Washington-Toronto game, still real tight, 96-95, with about 8.5 minutes left to go right now in the fourth quarter. So we just gonna keep our eyes on things. Can't wait to check out the home team, Cleveland Cavaliers tomorrow. You know what time that game start tomorrow, Dez?
I want to say it's around 3:00, but I could be wrong.
All right, well, but a midday game tomorrow. Tune in and check it out. But heck yeah, you already know what time it is. It's been Ted Grams. This is the Gamepoint Podcast. Signing off.